Okay, it's time now to take a spin with headline roulette. My first shot at this. These are the week's most compelling, random, and interesting headlines, and we look high and low to bring the country's top media minds to help guide us through the chaos. To decipher the trees from the forest, today's headline dealer is Tyler O'Neill, managing editor of the Daily Signal and the author of the hit book, O'Neill's hit book, Making Hate Pay, and the Woktopus, excuse me about that, is here with us. How are you, Tyler? You ready?
Doing well, yes.
Let me say that again.
I was born ready.
The Woktopus. I got it this time. I'm so anti-woke I can't even pronounce it correctly. That's how woke I am, so I look forward to it. Sexual harassment allegations, nursing home deaths, not among Cuomo's top 3 mistakes. Tyler, really? Go off on this.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he would not mention the nursing home scandal. I mean, this was the biggest thing. At the beginning of COVID, he forced nursing homes to take in elderly patients who had tested positive for the virus. So this was a situation where, and we know the elderly and those with comorbidities were most likely to be infected with and most harmed by this virus, most likely to die from COVID. And yet, rather than having a narrow approach, he said, oh, no, we have to have, rather than protecting nursing homes and protecting the elderly who weren't already infected, he said, let's have the people who tested positive into the nursing homes. I mean, the fact also that he didn't address the scandal that got him kicked out of the governor's office in the first place. I mean, it's just like, all right, guy, like if you want to build back trust, this isn't how to do it.
Yeah, I remember being in the Oval Office with the president the day that he went down to Virginia to send the USS Comfort up the eastern seaboard and into the Hudson River, and Cuomo almost didn't use it at all. It's crazy when you think about this.
Yeah, I remember when Samaritan's Purse opened their field hospital there to help amid COVID, and the big scandal was, oh, this hateful Christian group is coming in. And, this is how unserious often New York's governorship, New York's leadership in the city level as well, also has been in responding to these things. It is, and, on the one hand, it might be humorous, but when you're talking about people's lives, this is deadly serious. And that's, the scandals of his tenure have to be addressed, and he can't just brush them under the rug.
Ty, you're absolutely right, because even though we're, 5 years past, I mean, those seniors, those 15,000 seniors, they're not coming back. They're not with us. And this is extremely serious. So as, some people may joke about this at times, it's important to remember the actual human aspect that these policy decisions end up having.
Yes, no, it very much is. And my own family was impacted not by this particular policy, but my grandmother-in-law in Canada, we wanted to visit her with our daughter who, she was very young at the time. She was like 8, 9 months old, extremely cute. This elderly, my grandmother-in-law really loved her, loved talking to her remotely. We had planned a trip. And because Canada shut down their borders, we never got the chance. My daughter never got the chance to meet her great-grandmother. And this is just one of those things where, these human tragedies are very real. And the policies that they put in place during COVID, it really revealed the bureaucratic mindset that, oh, the bureaucrats know better than the American people. We're going to save life at all costs. When, what you're talking about in many of these cases was forcing complicated decisions on people in the name of health that often didn't actually end up helping.
I mean, very powerful story there. But going on the bureaucracy, I want to get to headline number 2. Here's why Democrats' feeble attempts to moderate are doomed to fail. Tyler, after that State of the Union we saw last week, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, the night before the State of the Union, Senate Democrats had a golden opportunity to show the American people that they had, as you said, you're very not woke. I think the American people are also very not woke. The Democrats had a golden opportunity to show that they were reconsidering one of their woke shibboleths, their woke commitments. This one regarding males in women's sports. Yeah. And they all voted, every single Democrat there on the Senate floor voted against a bill to prevent men from competing in women's sports. And, I love to hear Gavin Newsom say out of one side of his mouth, oh, it's unfair for these males to be competing in women's sports. But I think it's also important to note, Gavin Newsom has never pledged that he's actually going to change his policy, nor has he said, in that very same interview, he immediately went on to bring up the suicide issue, never noting that, everybody always says, oh, these poor, people who are confused with their gender are more likely to commit suicide. It's like, well, okay, if that's true, that doesn't necessarily follow that we should be encouraging them in this false gender identity. It means we need to listen to their concerns and get to the psychological roots beneath them. But what we always hear time and time again is if you don't affirm someone's gender identity, you're going to make it more likely for them to commit suicide. I've got news for you. The studies show that when you put them on these hormones and these drugs to change their bodies, that actually has an increased rate of suicidality, thoughts of suicide. So why can't Democrats move away from this insanity? It's because, and my book, The Woktopus, really shines the light on this. It's because they have this superstructure of these far left organizations funded by big donors like George Soros and his son Alex, that staffed and advised the Biden administration and that worked very closely with the Democratic Party. And they can't, Trump is doing yeoman's work, kicking woke out of the bureaucracy. But these organizations, this superstructure, this Woktopus is still there, and he hasn't been able to get rid of it.
Tyler, I only got about 30 seconds left, so I want to hear your take on the final headline over here. The LA Times, Mayor Karen Bass is deleting her text messages. I've heard a lot about this, Tyler. Why?
I think she has something to hide. And if you read into the article, it was she set up her text messages to automatically delete after a certain period of time, partially because she knows that they might have been seen otherwise. So what exactly she's trying to hide, I don't know, but this looks rather fishy.
Well, all right, that's all the time we have for Headline Roulette, where truth is truly more random than fiction. I want to make sure that you go and get Woktopus. Tyler, thank you very much for the time and being with us.
Thanks again for having me, Andrew.
Of course. And remember to download the OAN Live app on your TV and your favorite streaming devices. You can also catch any Fine Point episode you may have missed right there in the app with our video on demand. Feature Spread the Word. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Good night and God bless.